Good evening, friends. Today we will start with our psychology lecture number 12. As we have completed our chapter 1 and chapter 2, that is the introduction chapter and the methods of psychology chapter, we will start with the research method chapter. And then, after completing the research methods, which is an important chapter, we will go to our chapter 1 of paper 2, that is measurement of individual differences. We are clubbing all these methods of psychology research methods and measurement of individual differences. All these are being clubbed because the nature of the study in all these chapters, all these topics are similar. So what we will start with is the first topic. Okay, the first topic we are having under research methods is major steps. Firstly, the chapter which we are doing is under this we are doing major steps of psychological research. This is the topic. Now, the psychological research don't take place in a vacuum. The research happens in a particular manner, in a systematic manner, because the very definition of psychological research is psychological research is defined as systematic and empirical, two things only, systematic and empirical study of human behavior and mental processes. Now you see, understand the thread here. As we have defined, psychology is the scientific study of human behavior and mental processes. Human behavior and covert processes. Human behavior is something which we can observe overtly. Mental processes is something which we cannot see and observe overtly. They are covert processes. We observe them indirectly. There is no direct observation of the mental processes, but they are also defined and they are also under the criteria of scientific study of psychology, because if we focus only on the human behavior that is overtly available and we can directly measure them, then we'll be limited to the behavioristic perspective of psychology. Now, we have seen that after the cognitive revolution, the expansion of psychology includes not only the behaviorist idea but other perspectives also. Especially in the modern era, in the recent trends of psychology, we have seen that we are following the multicultural and multi-perspective approach. Multicultural, cross-cultural, multi-perspective approach. This we are seeing. So under the multi-perspectives, it will be important to include human behavior along with the cognitive processes, mental processes, internal processes also. Now, we talked about two things, the systematic and empirical. Systematic because it is under a defined way, in a systematized manner. There is a way of operation. We have certain steps. The step number 1 will take place, after that step number 2, 3, 4 and so on. So the steps are aligned. It is not that we are operating in vacuum. So what are the steps? They are under your syllabus. The syllabus mentions all these steps. Systematic means that only, that we have a plan and we are executing it according to the steps mentioned in our psychological research. The psychological research involves certain steps that we'll see further. Empirical means we have the evidence, that is, we have either through experimental method. In the experimental method, what happens? We conduct an experiment and we have the evidence, we have the data. Under the non-experimental method or non-experimental research or quasi-experimental research, we are not focusing on the data. We are not focusing on the data collected through the experimental method. In these methods and other descriptive case study, interview, questionnaire, in these methods, the way is not quantitative, but still it is empirical. That is, we have something to support, we have the evidence. The evidence can be collected either in a quantitative method or in a qualitative method. Quantitative method ensures, means that we have experiments. Qualitative means study like focus group discussion, brainstorming and grounded theory approach, which we have seen recently. In that, the qualitative data is captured, that is, how and why of the human behavior, emotion, belief, attitude, the internal mental cognitive processes, they are collected. Not what, when, where, but how and why. Qualitative. But either quantitative or qualitative, we have the evidence, we have the examples, we have the supporting evidence there. We have something to back it up. That is why it is called empirical. Firstly, there is a systematic, then there is empirical. Systematic means it takes place according to a set of steps, a predefined set of steps, which we will see. And empirical means we have the evidence. That's the only thing. Now, we should see we should also see what is the meaning of systematic study. There are major steps in a psychological research. What is a psychological research? Systematic and empirical study of human behavior and cognitive processes is called psychological research. And under the psychological research, where there are various steps, the first step is problem statement. Now remember that these steps mentioned here, they are not mentioned only in vacuum, they are not mentioned just for fun, but in syllabus each and every topic is mentioned. That means there can be a question from the particular topic, or there can be a question where two or more of the topics are interrelated. Likewise, what happened, as we have problem statement, after that step is hypothesis formulation. Fine. After that, research design. If you look at the question paper of 2023 mains, you will realize that the examiner has asked all three topics in the same question, or in divided in two questions. The examiner has asked you what is the differentiation, what is the difference between problem statement and hypothesis formulation. Is there a difference between hypothesis and problem statement? Do we really need to have a hypothesis to start the research? And what is the importance of research design? So what does it ask you? What is the insight developed from these? The insight is that when you go through the question, you will realize that the topics which are mentioned in the UPSC syllabus are of prime importance. And if you follow your study according to the syllabus topics, you will be much more successful as compared to what is being done throughout the competitive arena, as I call the pall and gloom, as I call the so much of nonsense created, too much of nuisance, too much of noise, too much of clutter which is there. To cut the clutter and to see through, you will have to follow two things. One is your syllabus, another one is your previous year question paper. Accordingly, you can see not only what kind of study you have to done, but you can also predict the kind of question you may be asked in the next or coming examination. Okay. This is important because see, as you study under different teachers, you will realize that there is a difference between what they say and what I am going to suggest you. Most of the teachers, as I told you in one of the videos, that if they cannot convince you, they will confuse you. That's what is happening. You should not be confused. The idea is here that this is a competitive examination and you will take an edge. You will be at an edge only if you follow the syllabus. If you just get lost in the noise, which is happening with most of the aspirants, then you will never reach your goal. It will take you so many years, and after, by the time you realize that this is the strategy to reach the services, the time will be over. If you don't want to follow that, you should follow this approach. Most teachers don't suggest you to follow this, although the toppers suggest it, but teachers don't suggest it. You know why? Because the teachers want you to study their courses again and again. This is the ill and evil design which is happening in our market. So let's go and study our syllabus. The first thing which we have to study is the problem statement, then the hypothesis formulation, then research design. After research design, one is your problem statement, then is your hypothesis formulation, then the research design, then sampling and data collection, analysis and interpretation, then finally the report writing. This is how the research goes. After research design, this is how it will unfold. Now we will see the steps, each and every step elaborately. We will understand its essence, significance, why it has been put there. But one thing I can tell you, in problem statement, what is happening? See, any researcher, if he sets himself or herself onto a research, first of all, we'll look at all the literature available. Firstly, the theories available. Theories available regarding the research material. Suppose the researcher is interested in the IQ and creativity study. Study of IQ and creativity. The researcher will see the theories around IQ, intelligence. The researcher will study the theory around creativity concept. Then the researcher will do a thorough investigation on the existing literature. Existing literature as far as these two concepts are concerned. So, what are these concepts? The researcher will do the thorough investigation. Researcher will see the theories around IQ and creativity. Then the researcher will come up with a problem statement. What is the problem statement? The problem statement will be finding the loopholes in the existing theories. and literature. For example, researcher may come up with the problem statement that there is a relationship between IQ and creativity, but that is not evident. That is not put up clearly in the existing theories and literature. Problem statement. This is the problem statement of the researcher, that IQ and creativity, they have some relationship. The hypothesis is the next step. In the next step, the researcher, after going through this thorough research, thorough literature review, thorough understanding of the theories around IQ and creativity, after understanding that there is a relationship between IQ and creativity, will have a tentative assumption. Will have a guess, but not a blind guess, a knowledgeable guess. A guess based on understanding, a guess based on knowledge, a guess based on thorough research. As we do in the prelims examination, we are able to eliminate 2 wrong answers, but out of the 2 answers, we are confused whether to go with A or C. Then we make a knowledgeable guess, a guess backed by our knowledge, that A may be the correct answer. So likewise, the researcher may have the hypothesis that as the IQ of a person increases, his creativity will also increase. This may be the hypothesis of the researcher. Researcher has done the thorough investigation, came up with the problem statement that something is fishy. As far as IQ and creativity is concerned, something is fishy, for which we don't have enough evidence. There is something gap. There is some gap, some loophole there existing. For that, the researcher will come up with a hypothesis, a tentative assumption that probably as IQ increases, the creativity also increases. This is just an assumption, which may be correct or which may be incorrect. The researcher is not biased towards the hypothesis. Generally speaking, this should be the idea of the researcher, because a psychological research, as we have seen, because of the definition of the psychology itself, there has to be skepticism, there has to be objectivity. So the researcher, after formulating the hypothesis, will go to the next step, and the next step is your research design. The research design is the most important, the most fundamental, the most significant step of the psychological research. It is the backbone of the research, because research design gives you a plan. If you don't have a plan and you are just executing something which is not planned, you will never reach your goal. If you keep on only planning, you never take a step, you are living in a fool's paradise. You are just imagining success, as people do. When they go to sleep, they imagine that I have got the red bacon, Lal Batti approach. The Lal Batti keeps on moving swiftly round and round in their head, but they never achieve the success of IAS, because they keep on planning, but they never implement the plan. Likewise, without the plan, you just join a premier institution, say in Rajendra Nagar. You don't know what to study in psychology, you don't know the syllabus, you have a blind faith on the teacher. The teacher teaches you so many things other than what is asked in UPSC, or teaches you so much that you are confused. Everything other than what is asked in the examination is taught to you. Teacher does not give you the PYQs, teacher does not show you the syllabus, teaches you for 1 year. After studying 1 year in the class, when you come out of the class, even then you are completely confused what to study, what to leave, because of the noise. You don't have a plan. That plan, according to which the systematic collection of data will take place. The research design gives you a plan according to which the systematic data collection will take place. Accordingly, the data will be analysis, and interpretation, which is nothing but using the statistical tools like ANOVA, t-test, correlation and regression analysis. Is done. How the data collection will be done? What will be the plan to collect the data? Whether method of which sampling method will be used? Like, see, we have to study the generic IQ level of those who appear for the civil services examination. The population here is each and everyone who is eligible for writing the civil services examination. The sample will be a few people who are representative of the complete population, everybody. That is 100 people, say suppose 100 students selected across the country from different age group from 21 to 32, or maybe later from age 21 to up to 37, from different categories, general, OBC, SC, ST, from different genders, men, women, everybody, from different geographical locations. You have selected a sample of say 1000 people, 1000 students. These students are representative of the whole population who prepare for the IAS examination, say 10 to 12 lakh applicants. The assumption is that those who fill the form are preparing for the examination. This is your population. Although, to state it clearly and frankly, all of these are not preparing for the exam. They have filled the form under some pressure and just for fun. It's a fun activity for them. How much does it cost? Oh, only 800 rupees. Okay, let's fill the form and keep on telling everybody in your neighborhood that I have filled the IAS form. They also giving you respect. Okay, Munna bhaiya, sit here and tell us, you have filled the form of IAS examination, you are preparing for IAS, you probably know each and everything in the life. Tell me how many stars are there in the sky, how many fishes are there in the Indian Ocean. Munna bhaiya, boasting of his knowledge, will say, yes, I know answer to each and every question. Although the reality is that hardly 1.5 to 2 lakh aspirants might be preparing. And if you ask the serious aspirants, they are not more than 1 lakh. Serious, sincere, not more than 1 lakh every year. So, this is your population whom you want to study, and this is a sample which is representative of the population. So, which kind of sampling method will be used will be decided by research design. How the data will be collected, whether it will be collected through the experimental design in lab, or it will be collected through interviewing each and every aspirant, or questionnaires, giving them the questionnaires online or offline, doing the survey, naturalistic or observation survey, or a case study will be done. Through which method will collect the data, that will be decided by research design. Sampling method, analysis of data. Interpretation of data, that is the statistical method. Which statistical method will be used, also defined by research design. So research design defines each and everything. Not only this, as we proceed further, you realize that from problem statement and hypothesis formulation, when we reach to research design, the research design actually influences this as well. That is, after deciding the research design, the researcher may think of defining the problem statement more specifically again. By doing the literature survey or research, after defining the research design, after seeing the plan, the researcher may come up with an idea that probably I left something, probably some of the loopholes were left, and I must go and see which are the loopholes, existing loopholes. The researcher will go back to the literature survey, the researcher will go back to the finding the existing theories again, because some of the theories might have been left. As you go and prepare for civil services, you realize that I have done my literature survey, I have met so many toppers, I have seen the interviews of many of the toppers which are shown on different channels. I have actually been to my village also to meet the district collector from our district. I have seen all the preparation guides. I have referred to the YouTube videos. Then I have made a plan. When you make a plan, then you realize probably some things also should have been done. Like I should have studied the syllabus of each and every optional in detail. Then you go back and formulate your problem statement again. So this research design not only affects the steps which are after this, which are data collection and interpretation, and after that report writing, sampling also, sampling, data collection method, report interpretation, report writing, everything depends on research design. The steps which are after this, the steps which are before this, what about the research which are the steps which are before this? That is problem statement 1, hypothesis formulation 2. These are also affected by the research design. So research design defines the whole paraphernalia infrastructure of the research, psychological research. Now, the research design can be called the backbone or even the cerebral cortex of the research. It may be called backbone, cerebral cortex. Cerebral cortex, why? Because cerebral cortex is that part of the brain which is involved in the planning. Cerebral cortex decides how will you take actions, how will you take decisions. Likewise, the research design will ensure how will you take decisions. The steps before research design affect research design, and the research design affects the steps before it, that is the problem statement and hypothesis formulation. Further, the research design affects the steps which succeeds the research design step, that is your sampling method, data collection, statistical analysis, interpretation, and report writing. They are also affected by research design, because research design is nothing but the whole plan according to which the research will take place in a systematic and empirical manner, empirical method. The systematic and empirical study of human behavior and internal mental processes is called psychological research, and the plan to do so is called research design. That is why research design is the backbone of the psychological research method. This was the question, and if you write all this in, examiner will go gaga. Examiner will be very happy. Oh, you have written everything. But to write all these things, you must go through the syllabus. You must cut the clutter, the noise. But if you focus on the noise, 1500, 2000 pages of nonsense, you will never be, unfortunately, very unethical and a disservice towards the students. Students are so innocent, they don't understand, they don't have the syllabus, they have not seen the psychology, but they trust the teacher, trust the institution. They come to study and they are lost. Most of the students fail prelims because the institutions, they teach them prelims related syllabus till April May month, because they are taught prelims related syllabus till April month. How can they appear in May in prelims examination and pass it? This is regarding the first timers, and that is why many of the people who leave the field, they stop preparing, because unfortunately their teachers, their institutions backstab them. Such unethical approach, only to earn few lakhs of rupees, not even crores. This is the way the coaching industry operates. Okay, so we have seen what is problem statement, we have seen what is hypothesis formulation. After hypothesis formulation, a research design comes up. What is research design? A plan. Research design is a plan or strategy to systematically collect data through a defined sampling method analysis is done followed by interpretation and report writing. Research design also affects problem statement and hypothesis formulation, which we have seen. Because of these characteristics, research design is called backbone of the psychological researches. Now, if you remember all these things and you jot down, write down each and everything which I have told you in the same fashion, and you go and repeat this in the examination, even then you will be getting very good marks. But unfortunately, this is not the way it is dealt. Lots of clutter, lots of noise, lots of nonsense. That is why. So, what we'll do is, the problem statement we have seen, hypothesis formulation. What was the problem statement? That something, that IQ and creativity, they share a relationship. Then the hypothesis formulation, the hypothesis was that as the IQ increases, creativity also increases. This is hypothesis. After that, the research design is formulated, and we get to know how will the data be collected, whether it will be through experimental design, non-experimental design, quasi-experimental design, or rather quasi or quasi experimental design, how it will be done, or it will be done through your descriptive research, descriptive method, or it will be a correlational method, correlational. What method will be used? To collect the data is defined by research design. Then, what kind of sampling will be done? What method of sampling? Sampling technique, which we'll study separately. Sampling technique, which will be used by the researcher. That's also designed by the research design, because research design has a complete holistic plan, holistic strategy. This is research design. After that, what happens? The same thing. Sampling and data collection takes place. This will be step number 4. This is your step number 4. Step number 4 is sampling and data collection. What is sampling? That having a sample. Suppose we want to study the IQ level of the aspirants who write civil services. So we cannot reach to each and every aspirant, because that will be resource exhausting. We don't have that much of money, we don't have that much of time, so it will be a futile exercise. Too much of time investment, too much of energy investment, too much of money investment. So rather than that, we can select a representative group of aspirants who represent the complete country. If you have to see the representation of the whole country, where should you go? You go to the parliament, the 545 members of the Lok Sabha, and if you include Rajya Sabha members also, they all combined, they are representative of the complete country. Likewise, we can choose aspirants from different sections of the states, different gender, different age group, different attempt also, attempt number 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and then finally come up with a sample. So what kind of sampling will be done? Which technique will be used to have a representative sample? That's also designed and defined by research designed. Then after that will be data collection. What is data collection? Nothing. Interview, case study, survey, questionnaire, they are the methods of data collection. We'll study about them elaborately in our next section. That is done. This is the 4th step, sampling and data collection done. After that, what will happen? The 5th step, which makes everybody fear psychology, or which makes everybody fear the statistics, analysis and interpretation. That is the next step. Analysis and interpretation. In that, the statistical analysis will be done. In the statistical analysis, what actually is seen is the significance of the result obtained and the effect size. What is significance? How significant is the result? What is the level of significance? These two terms, the level of significance and effect size, we'll study as a separate topic, but this is seen through the statistical analysis. Whether our results are significant or not, whether or not we should go ahead with our result will be defined by the significance. And how effective is the treatment, that is the manipulation of IV independent variable, how effective it is defined by the effect size. How much difference has the treatment made? How much difference has the treatment been able to make in the two groups? A group which, as I told you, the example of disadvantaged learners, disadvantaged section learners, if we introduce program learning, so how much difference is made in their performance? That is called effect size or power, statistical power. We will study about these terms separately later on. But this comes under what? The statistical analysis, under which will come these terms, the t-test, ANOVA, correlation and regression, etc. These things will study under statistical analysis and interpretation. Once the analysis and interpretation is done, as the last step is your sixth step is your report writing. Report writing is nothing but summarizing, giving a summary of the result obtained. Whether the hypothesis was rejected or accepted, that is summarized there. The report is published in various channels and they are also informed. Regarding the report, the existing scientists who are working on this or remotely or directly, indirectly connected with the subjects of IQ and creativity, they will also be messaged. They will also be sent this report. They will also be intimidated or intimation will also be not intimidated but intimated, because intimidation is threatening. So intimated, they will be sent the message across that this is our report, please go through it, so that to remain open to criticism. This is the hallmark of a genius. When you are open to criticism, you are the fine person, you have the persona. So this completes our all the steps or major steps of psychological research, which is done. There is the essence of each and every step, which will be given to you in a PDF format, but you have also understood how the research progresses. And why are we doing this research in this systematized manner? Because we have seen the definition of psychology itself says that scientific method. When it is scientific, it has to be systematic. Anything scientific is systematic. You prepare for UPSC to achieve a good rank, it has to be systematic. You cannot just shoot in the air, and there are people who shoot in the air and somehow land up a very good rank, in a very good rank. They keep on saying, just keep doing your work, you don't know what will happen. Of course we don't know, but if we follow the approach of engineering, approach of science, being scientific, systematic, that will ensure your success in a better manner. Likewise, a systematic set of steps ensures that we are following, we are moving forward in the right direction. Right or not? This is how it happens. So, systematic set of steps. UPSC will always ask your conceptual understanding. One of the questions asked by UPSC was, why do we follow such systematic steps? The answer is here, because systematic steps will ensure that we are following an efficient manner, efficient method. We are following an economic method. Our results will be effective. Our results will follow the principles of skepticism, openness, accuracy, universalization, and objectivity. By following a systematic method. If we just shoot in air, nothing will happen. Our method may or may not achieve the results, but we will not be called scientific at all. That is why we must follow the steps which are defined. And these steps have not been born out of the blue. These steps have been defined after so much of research. Do you think these steps came out of the blue suddenly? No. There were many researchers who did follow different sets of steps. After following the problem statement, they straight away went for research design. They found that something is wrong. We must have formulated a hypothesis formulation. Then they realized after hypothesis formulation, we should go to research design. Then after research design, they followed straight away analysis and interpretation and given the report. Then they realized there has to be a sampling way, tools of data collection method also. So they brought the step in the systematic study done. So these methods have come up after a lots of hard work of many scientists, social scientists. That is why we must respect the steps. Now we have covered our major steps in a psychological research. There are a few things like the methods of data collection, under which comes interview, questionnaire, survey, case study and all, that we'll study in a different class. Then comes your sampling. Sampling is to be studied in a different section. Then comes your analysis, under which statistical analysis, under which will come your different tools of statistical analysis, that will be t-test, ANOVA, etc. That will again study in a different section. But you must have a bird's eye view. Although we'll study it all separately, but the bird's eye view have been given in different steps, which you must understand. There is no need to reach or read one book for every step. If you want, you can follow this approach, one book for every step, but it will take you 15 years to understand the complete psychology. And after understanding the complete psychology, even then you may not clear the examination. But if you follow the syllabus, previous year question paper and a strategy, a defined scientific strategy, you will definitely ace the examination. If you have more than average IQ, I can tell you with utmost confidence that most people who are sincere and who have understood the strategy, they either hit the bullseye in the first attempt itself, or if the first attempt may or may not go in the right manner, in the second or next attempt they will definitely hit the bullseye. Now we'll go to our next topic, fundamental versus applied research, or the research which is called fundamental. Fundamental research, pure research or basic research. These are one type of research as compared to your applied research. This is our topic, basic research versus applied research. This has been given in the syllabus. Now we will understand what is a basic research first, then we will understand what is an applied research, then we will compare it. Now basic research is like a research done out of curiosity. Basic, pure and fundamental. The three names of the same research. This is a research which is done out of curiosity. Nobody has asked the scientists to do this research. They just want to further the goals of psychology. They want the psychology discipline to grow out of curiosity, just curiosity. To find a new hypothesis or a new theory. Find and test. Find a new hypothesis, test a new hypothesis. Formulate a new hypothesis, formulate a new theory. There may or may not be any application. There may or may not be any application. Any application may be there or may not be there. The researcher is not bothered about the application. They are just doing the research. And sometimes accidentally or deliberately a new theory is born. Who are these people? These are the kind of people who आज कुछ तूफानी करते हैं. They will get up one fine morning and they will be like, okay, there are so many theories of intelligence. Let's see, can there be any new theory of intelligence? So Howard Gardner, sitting in his garden, doing gardening, suddenly he thinks of, can there be a theory called multiple intelligence? Can there be multiple formats of the intelligence which are separate from each other, which don't have any correlation or overlap with each other? A person who is a musical genius, like Williams syndrome, or people who are called idiot but musical savants, that who are musically very, very intelligent, but they don't have a very good IQ. So researcher thinks, Howard Gardner thinks, can there be any such theory? So he comes up with a new hypothesis. And then the researcher in the basic research does what? Test the hypothesis in lab condition through experimental design. Here the research design is not case study, interview, survey, questionnaire and all, or any descriptive research where the researcher describes everything. Here the research is experimental design. The researcher goes for experimentally testing, approving or rejecting the hypothesis. This is the method of researcher here in the pure and basic research, pure or basic research. This research does not find anything which may or may not be having any application, immediate application, futuristic application, any particular specific example. No, that is not needed. That is not the zone of the researcher. Here the researcher is doing the research just out of fun, as a curiosity, just to further the discipline of psychology. So it has a heuristic impact. It gives birth to new hypothesis, new theories. Heuristic impact. It's a rigid method because the researcher is following the experimental design. So researcher goes with the hypothesis. Whenever there is a experimental design, the researcher will go with the hypothesis. Then the researcher will either approve the hypothesis or negate the hypothesis, approve it or reject it. So now we will see the applied research. Applied research. Unlike the research done in a basic form or pure form or a fundamental form, fundamental research, basic research, pure research, the applied research is done in a specific context. Applied research finds an application. Of course, it has an application. want to solve a problem at hand. Immediate problem at hand is to be solved. There's an immediate problem. In the industrial setup it may be, in the societal setup it may be, or a larger problem in a different context. But it's a specific problem, defined problem. Like we solved our problem of effectiveness of cleanliness, which we did in focus group discussion. Effectiveness of new method of cleanliness. As we can see, we are giving the example of focus group discussion. So what does it suggest? These kind of research are qualitative in nature, not quantitative. The applied research is qualitative, but the basic research is quantitative. That is why experimental design is followed in pure or basic research, but in applied research what we are following is not experimental design but a descriptive research, like focus group discussion, like grounded theory approach. These can be followed in applied research. So applied research, the aim is not to further the humanity, further the discipline of the psychology, but to find a solution for a problem at hand. This is the applied research. Of course, when we are following these kind of methods, this is not rigid. The applied research is flexible in its approach. The applied research does not fall back upon the data-led quantitative method of experimental design. It is falling back upon qualitative methods just to capture the attitude, belief, motivation of the subjects of the research. The methods followed are interview, survey, questionnaire, etc. of data collection. In the basic research, the data collection is done through experimental design itself, in the lab condition, in a rigid manner, just to further the discipline of psychology. Maybe or may not be having any application. The researcher does not bother about this. The context which we have been able to develop as far as pure research and applied research is concerned is caught here. I am leaving you with this thought only. We will not have a longer class today, and Sunday we will take a break, but Monday onwards we will have 2 hours class daily, because there are some holidays also. So we need to be sincere with our approach as far as November part is concerned, and by end of December or mid of January we will be able to cover each and every aspect of our psychology syllabus, as I have already told you. You prepare notes for a pure versus applied research, which we will cover in the next class, of course. Just a very small topic. We have already developed the context around it, and see how many points you can come up with. And you should also be curious how we will organize it. I will tell you how to organize your notes so that you can remember. Thank you very much. Good night. We will see you on Monday, but Sunday, that is tomorrow, there will be ethics test and essay test. Ethics test number 2, essay test number 2. Psychology test will be held after we cover 4 chapters, and later on further tests. See you on Monday, 4:30 p.m. Thank you very much.